Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see so many new faces here. Really excited about that. Welcome to day 112 of the Trump administration. But there's some good news there. That means that I only have to listen to theoretically the most powerful person in the world say, I don't know, for 1,348 more days. Oh my God. Are we planning to deport immigrants to a prison in Libya? I don't know. Has anyone in the administration actually talked to Kilmar Abrego Garcia? I don't know. Ask the Attorney General. Do you have any feelings about Russia being banned from competing in the World Cup in 2026? I didn't know anything about that. How about tariff exemptions for household goods that was floated by our Treasury Secretary? I don't know anything about that either. And what about J.D. Vance saying he thinks Russia is asking for too much from Ukraine? And he said, I don't know. I didn't know he said that. He may know some things, which would be great if somebody did know some things. This is just in 1 week. And it started with a real mind blower, which all of you know what I'm talking about. When Kristen Welker on Meet the Press asked the President of the United States, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president? And what did he say? I'm not a lawyer, but I've got great lawyers working on it. Yeah. You just have to wonder who, if anyone, is sailing the ship of state here. I can only imagine how far off their crackers the far-right media would fall if Joe Biden's answer to every question had been, I don't know. But we seem fine with having a bystander in chief, making proclamations on water flow, the number of toys appropriate for a child in order to serve the needs of the state, and the importance of women having lots and lots of children. It's so important that he has a plan. Have you heard the plan? Yeah. What a great one. What a great idea. If you have just 6 children, everybody in the room who has 6 children, please raise your hand. I knew this was a smart group. If you have just 6 children, you will receive a presidential medal. Right? Makes you want to get pregnant, doesn't it? It probably has his image on it. But that's not the only thing. Every time you give birth, you're going to get a $5,000 check, which will go to the $20,000 or $25,000 it costs to give birth in the first place. So wow, right? Paying women to have children sounds so much like a Handmaid's Tale kind of thing. And to that, I say, big whoop. What a sport, a medal and a one-time check. That shows exactly how important women are to this administration. The same administration that has taken away basic health care and abortion care from women and sat back watching while women across the country have struggled and in many tragic cases died. The same administration that is planning to cut Medicaid in ways that will severely impact women and families, reducing, if not eliminating for some, SNAP benefits, among other cuts. The same administration that's eliminating the jobs of thousands of federal employees who it says have benefited from diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Oh no, not women and Black people in the workplace, not that. They would include a medical researcher who is on the verge of making a significant cancer discovery, and a vice admiral who has served for 38 years, including combat service as a helicopter pilot, and served as the first woman president of the Naval War College, and holds a master's degree from Harvard. Obviously, grossly unqualified. So it's not just the Trump administration either. It's Republicans in general. In 2021, the Democratic majority in the US House passed the Build Back Better bill. That's hard to say, Build Back Better bill. And then included an expanded child care tax credit. In 1 year, that lifted 50% of children in the US out of poverty. In 2022, that bill came up for renewal, which would have made it permanent. And every single Republican, please don't ever tell me there were good Republicans and bad Republicans. Every single Republican voted against it, sending 15.3 million families with children once again back into poverty. That's how Trump and the Republican Party feel about women. We are not worthy of good jobs, not worthy of risking our lives for our country. And I just want to pause here and ask if there are any women in the audience who have served in the military. Thank you for your service. Also not worthy of having the basic rights guaranteed to all Americans under the Constitution: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Oh, I forgot. Trump doesn't know that much about the Constitution, and apparently less about women. As lovely as Greenville is, it is a tough place to be a working mom. And the child care climate change for Greenville's families. We've got 3 speakers today to address that issue and discuss how we got here and what some of the solutions might be. I'm going to turn the program over to Roxanne, who's going to introduce everybody.
Great to see everybody today, even though it's raining. I hope what you're about to hear from our speakers will trigger some questions. And I'd ask you to please jot down your questions to any of our speakers on the index cards at your table, and then someone will come by if you hold it up to pick those up. But do save your questions till the end, if you please. We'll only accept written questions to ensure we can get to as many as possible. Thank you. I am the product of a working mother and father. My mom was a special ed teacher in public schools, and my dad was a farmer and a personnel manager at a manufacturing plant. As a child, my brothers and I had a series of babysitters and caregivers. As an adult, I was the co-host of a morning radio show and a single mom. Finding someone to take care of my son beginning at 4 a.m. Monday through Friday was no easy task. For several years, I'd carry my sleeping son over to a neighbor's house and put him back in bed and then go to work. Things got tougher when I moved away and struggled to find anyone or anywhere to want to take care of my child. When I went back to school, finish my college degree, a rotating cast of friends helped my son with his homework while I was in class. And then sometimes he went to college with me. God bless all the friends out there who cared for my child or your child when you were working. Oh, I don't know what I would have done without them. I have lived the struggle of finding and paying for quality childcare. The average cost of daycare in 2023 was more than $11,000 per child a year. Families in major cities are paying more than double that amount. The shortage worsened after COVID when the subsidies from the state and the federal government ended. Many centers closed, others struggled to find qualified workers. Meanwhile, deep cuts to Head Start programs and daycare subsidies are looming. Another working mom who's lived the struggle is Dr. Liz Jordan. Liz works at Greenville Tech in the Aspire Scholars Initiative, providing case management and support services to help students meet their academic and professional goals. Liz is a single mom to a 7-year-old, William, who attends Blythe Academy. Liz and her son enjoy playing soccer, basketball, and mini golf. I remember meeting Liz at her very first Democratic Women's Meeting, and I am thrilled to see her that she joined and is now a very active member. Please welcome Dr. Liz Jordan.
Yeah, like a timing. I'm a woman of many words. So. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for being here today. My name is Liz Jordan. I've lived here in Greenville for 9 years. And like Roxanne said, I have a 7-year-old son named William. He goes to Blythe and he'll be starting 3rd grade in the fall. I am also divorced, and I'm fortunate to have a functional working relationship with my co-parent. I work at Greenville Tech, as Roxanne said, and I've been part of Den Women for a little while. And I really am honored just to get the opportunity to speak to you and also just to be able to be here during the day. As a mother, my key challenges are raising a child as a single parent, but it's also harder when you're working full-time and outside of the home. I don't have any family on the East Coast or friends that can assist with childcare. And so, there's the daily stress and guilt of learning how to balance, nurturing your son's needs with the rest of your life and also having time to take care of oneself. When I moved to Greenville, I wasn't expecting to have a child actually. And
Oh,
do that. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Silence your phone.
All right. So anyway, I got here, and within 2 months of moving here, I found out I was pregnant. And so I immediately, got to work and panicking about how I honestly was going to manage childcare. That was the biggest thing I was worried about. And also the cost of just, again, having a baby. So I immediately got to work and did, all the research. My husband at the time was working at Greenville Tech. And so, I immediately put myself on the waiting list at Greenville Tech Child Development Center. So we unfortunately had to sit on the waiting list for 1.5 years, and we still had priority because my husband was a staff person or a faculty member. Students, by the way, are also eligible to use the service. Once we got into Greenville Tech, we loved it, by the way. Just want to say it was such an incredible environment for our child. And I can't speak highly enough about all of the teachers and everybody that makes it go round. But anyway, so we were on a wait list. And so then I had to look outward, and just because of the location of where we happen to live and because of our income bracket, we could work with a local center, and it was Legacy Academy on Woodruff Road. However, I still had to wait on a waiting list, right? And so again, everything is luck. When the last baby is transitioning to the next class, then you're lucky to squeeze yourself in. And everything is really based on, again, that kind of luck, and also being able to self-educate about what is out there. So we did that. We were really lucky that all worked out. But becoming a single parent, of course, poses new challenges. And one of those was that I had to work outside of the home. Before, I was working 100% remotely, and that was working really well for me. But having to go back and work in an office and leave the house at 7 and come back at 6 each night with a child is hard. And it's hard on them too. They have really long days. And I think that's probably one of the things I feel most guilty about, is that he has a longer day than a lot of adults do. So anyway, I just want to point out that I recognize that our location and the availability and the fact that it was affordable for us made us really privileged. But like I said, the stressors really did relate to my commute. At one point I had a 2-hour-a-day commute, and it required that my ex-husband, who's been kind enough to work with me, would honestly come and pick up my son in the morning on the days I had him. He'd come and take him to school. And then I would beg him to pick him up at the end of the day, because if there was a crash on the 85, I wasn't getting there at 6 o'clock. And it was a lot on me. And I know you can hear it a little in my voice, but it was not a very fun time, and it was hard. So anyway, in terms of where I'm at today, I work at Greenville Tech. I'm so lucky. I love working there. And I'm also lucky because where I happen to be able to rent, and I can't buy, but where I rent is at least close enough to work. So I'm within 5 miles of work, and I'm within 5 miles of my son's school. So, and we have the YMCA. So that is what makes our world go around. And I'm really thankful for that. And I recognize that that's the reason it's okay for now. But now again, what are solutions? Well, what's worked for me, working at home works. It absolutely did. I wish I could achieve that at some point in time. Another thing that worked out is, of course, having positive co-parenting relationships if you are a single parent. That takes work, though. I also happen to be in a partnership with someone that's very supportive, who's also been through divorce and understands what it's like. His son is older than my son. So he's already been there, done that. And this person has been truly like a lifeline for me, again, for picking my child up if he's sick, for getting him at home, for helping him with homework. I've got friends, across the country that happen to be married, getting divorced, rebuilding a life all at the same time during the pandemic. And so, it's those like texting and meme relationships that honestly are pretty wonderful. And then finally, I just want to say that damn women, I really love coming here and meeting people from all different life backgrounds and experiences and perspectives, but around, again, similar values. So that's been wonderful for me. But I particularly benefited from forging relationships with women that have also been married and divorced or remarried and have grown children. It has made such a difference in my life, knowing that other people have succeeded and not failed. Like sometimes we do feel like that. So I think the really big thing is logistics. They're always changing. I feel like I'm always making mistakes, and I'm thankful to everybody that's in my life for being graceful and understanding. I know that we don't have the best of support resources here. I'm not familiar, and I know our experts are going to speak to that. But when I think about things that I would like to see, first thing is I'd like on-site childcare for my employer. That would be huge. I might be able to go exercise one day. Who knows? It's just things like that would make a massive difference. Having remote flexibility with a job, having a supervisor that really understands and sees you as a human, and then a mother, that's helpful. The tax credit, it only works for one parent here in SC, and it only goes to the moneyed parents. So that really hurts me. I really appreciate that too. But just in general, we all deserve universal health care, no matter where you are. And just finally, I'm an educator through and through, and we need to be prioritizing single mothers in their higher education. That is the only thing that's going to really make a difference in the long run. And so we have a long way to go, but I'd really like to see there be more programs that do allow for childcare, to allow moms to do just that. For example, to do that at Greenville Tech. It'd be really great if we had a community like that. So anyway, thank you for listening today.
Plug your social gathering.
Oh yeah, sorry. So even though I'm really busy, I have time to do one volunteering event in 1 month. And it's to be a co-host with my friend Julia at Cocktails and Conversations, which is on the third Tuesday of every month. And so it's next week, May 20th at Oak and Honey, which is at the Spring Hill Suites Hotel. It's on Washington and Spring. Starts at 5 and it's really fun. So we'd like to have you join if you haven't yet. Thanks.
Thanks, Liz. I was a little daunted when I saw her outline. You only got 5 minutes. She did great. She had a lot to say. And again, as a person who raised a child with no family support, I cannot emphasize enough how much those friends and acquaintances and neighbors help mothers so much. I literally could not have done it without it. Solving the shortage of affordable childcare in Greenville County is going to require flexibility and creativity. As an experienced community planner, Tina Belge has studied the issue extensively, and she's incorporated that knowledge into her campaign for an at-large city council seat. As the mother of 2 young daughters, Tina takes this issue personally. Please welcome Tina Belge.
Thank you so much. And I just want to give a big credit to Elizabeth. The day I gave birth to my oldest, one of my first thoughts was, how do single mothers do this? Did anybody else have this thought? So big shout out to you, friend. So yeah, I'm Tina Belge. I'm running for city council for the at-large seat. I've been in the planning world, urban planning, city planning, mostly with a focus on housing. But my first introduction was actually through to childcare. It was through the planning world. I went to a conference and basically said, why don't we include childcare in the planning of our cities? This is a major, basis of quality of life that we're not providing and giving families, giving women, giving mothers and children. So that really opened my eyes. And then of course, when I had my 2, it was something else. Similarly, I had to get on a list before I was pregnant. And it still had 5 months on another waiting, 5 months after my child was born for both children. And this was being well equipped and having resources. So that's what we're facing. You know, we have over 4,000 on a waiting list currently through the county, just childcare spots that we need. And diving to it more with First Steps, with great partners like Derek here, who you'll hear from. There's so many interesting policy solutions, and y'all know me, I like to get in there, like to dig around and what can we do to kind of change that. So there's so many things on the local level, you know, and also on the state level. We've been really fortunate in South Carolina, in Greenville specifically, in our city. And I think I saw Dorothy down here somewhere. There we go, Dorothy. She's done a lot of work on this in terms of getting, you know, businesses permits, licenses waived for childcare centers. One that my kids actually go to. So thank you for that, Dorothy. Just really pushing the envelope on this issue. There are other things that we look at, you know, when it comes to payment, when it comes to cost. You know, is there an ability for us to scale what the costs are for childcare based on your income? That's something that other, you know, cities, states are looking at doing. And so if I'm paying something, why is it the same amount as somebody paying, you know, $20,000 a year? Those are some opportunities to look at as well. After school expansion programs is something we're very much talking about on the campaign trail. Used to have double that amount before COVID, but as we talked about, we just had so many cuts happen and lots of closings of different centers and everything. On top of that, we've got some amazing statewide partnerships that have happened across the country that we can model, looking at philanthropic partners, looking at childcare centers and government all coming together with employers. Employers are interested. We're having these conversations. They see it as a workforce issue. Currently in South Carolina, we have 30,000 people who are out of the workforce because of childcare. These are just the ones we know about, right? So these are folks who have said, hey, childcare is not affordable for me. That's one barrier. Childcare is either too far away. Maybe I'm in a rural area and I can't access it. We have kind of a unique situation here where the city actually is more of a desert and the northern, very northern and very southern parts of the county, but right around the city edge, kind of in that county urban middle, that's where our childcare lies. And so the third problem that we see is if I work a third shift, how am I going to get childcare, right? And so working with folks like First Steps and getting programs for in-home care providing, making sure we can work with our housing folks. And that's where, you know, relationships I've had has come in to say, hey, let's work with these apartment complexes, multifamily. Can we get on-site childcare? And there's lots of avenues and examples and models out there that we can work at. There's solutions that exist. And we're really lucky that we live in a forward-thinking city that is able to do the work and have the models that we've been able to do so far and continue that work. Because lots of times we're seeing the cities take the leap and actually the state's following. If you've seen, there's also a bill right now that you could go ahead and support. Obviously, the session just ended, but it's S47, and it is a child care tax credit, and that's for employers to be able to get a financial benefit for providing either on-site childcare or just putting money towards any kind of a voucher. It also helps increase pay for our childcare workers who we know are not paid nearly enough for a quality life living. So if we focus on those things, those policies that we can make a difference on. This has bipartisan support. We just pulling that across the finish slide over the next session. We could definitely use the voices in the room to help do that. I could probably go on this for a while, but those are kind of the focuses of the childcare issues. Local, state, it could be zoning, planning, incentivizing, tax abatements. There's a whole menu of options out there that we've identified. And with folks like you in the room, we can make that happen. And I really hope you'll join me, obviously, on the campaign, as childcare is one of our big 4 priorities, and making sure that everybody has an opportunity and that it's not, keeping people out of the workforce, especially women, right? Because we know that's who it's impacted the most. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Greenville First Steps is a nonprofit organization that funds programs aimed at increasing the number of Greenville County children who enter kindergarten on track and ready to succeed. Derek Lewis is the executive director of Greenville First Steps. Derek also serves as the chair of Greater Good Greenville and on the board of the Community Foundation of Greenville. Derek previously served for 8 years as an elected member of the Greenville County School Board. Thank you so much, Derek. That's not an easy job. His wife, Frederick, teaches 4K in Greenville County schools, and their son, William, is an 8th grader at Hughes Academy. Please welcome Derek Lewis.
Thank y'all for having me today, and thanks for letting me follow Tina and Dr. Jordan. I just think that your stories are really incredible, and they really mirror what the Lewis family dealt with as well. Our William, when we found out we were expecting, got on 15 waiting lists, and we're pretty good at finding childcare in Greenville County, and it's kind of part of our job. And we did not have a childcare slot for him until he was potty trained, and so for about 2 years, he was in an in-home provider situation with someone that we just knew through First Steps, because even as someone that funds childcare, providers were telling us, well, he'll be on the list until he's not. And when he's potty trained, we'll call you. So he got into Greenville Tech then, and that's been a huge blessing. And yes, he is entering high school next year, which is unbelievable. I got a call in February to ask me to serve on the PTA board at Greenville High. And I was like, Hedrick and I have agreed, like, we're not going to serve on any boards where our kids aren't in school. And the lady was like, he's going to be here in the fall. And it had not occurred to me in February that I was going to have a high schooler. And so we are adapting and adjusting our mindsets about our lives. But here today to talk about childcare. So in Greenville First Steps, our goal is to get kids ready for kindergarten. And really the 3 ways we try to move those levers is in early literacy, making sure the kids have access to books. I will do a plug just for a second for Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which is now available in about half of Greenville County. It's a free book mailing program. Families can sign up on our website. They just go to greenvillefirststeps.org and they automatically can be enrolled. All they have to give us is the child's name, their date of birth, and their address. We don't need any other identifying information. And if they're eligible, a book will be mailed to them every month until the child turns 5. So they could have 50 to 60 books in their home by the time they get to kindergarten, which is really incredible, and it's a free program. So please help us spread the word. The other program that we spend a lot of our energy on are parenting programs. We have one newborn home visiting program called Family Connects that's really exciting. And so now if you have a baby in Greenville County, a nurse will visit you in the hospital. And if you want, that nurse will schedule a visit for you 6 weeks after you're sent home from the hospital, and visit you in your home and talk about whatever you want to talk about. And so we've had nurses do visits and help moms find cribs, and we've had nurses do visits and help moms find bus tickets. We've had nurses do visits and help moms find a pediatric clinic that's still enrolling patients. And so it's a universal program. It does not target families because of their Medicaid eligibility or because of any sort of DSS or DHEC concern. You had a baby and you're the next door that we knock on, you're going to get a visit. And so Family Connects is free and it is universal, and we're really excited that it is helping us connect our families to services much earlier than if they were maybe referred to us with a concern from DSS. So we're really excited about those. But the one that you asked us to talk about today is childcare, and it is a personal thing for us, and it is a problem that is getting worse in Greenville County, in particular for infants and toddlers. So Tina is right. Right now in Greenville County, there are about 4,500 infants and toddlers who are not in childcare in this county who need to be in childcare. So families have asked for it, are on a waiting list, and cannot find a spot. 4,500 infants and toddlers. That's about 1 of every 4 in Greenville County that families can't return to work because their families don't have access to childcare. Now, there is good news, and that is when you get to about 3, things open up a lot. And so the experience that the Lewis family had is actually true for most families, that if you need 3K, 4K, we're actually doing better than most of the state. Give a lot of credit to the Institute for Child Success and to some partners here who advocated for expansion of 4K services. And so now just about any family who qualifies for at-risk services in Greenville County can get free 4-year-old kindergarten in this county, either through the school district, through Shares Head Start program, or through private 4K centers that accept First Steps vouchers. And so we actually have space in all three of those partners right now. So the good news you should leave with today is we are doing really well with 3 and 4-year-olds, but we are not doing great with infants and toddlers. The other problem is that most families who live outside of the city want to bring their child closer to where they work. And so that's actually caused a real shortage of childcare downtown. But there's also not childcare in Greer and Simpsonville and Malden and Travelers Rest. And so we have these really large areas of our county where we just don't have enough childcare. So there are a couple of solutions that we're working on that we're excited about. I saw a couple of my friends here from the Searchlight group. So this was a group that formed out of Ollie and Furman, and they've been kind of working on some childcare policies and helping churches. So one of our focuses has been, we know that in Greenville County, there are a number of churches that do not offer childcare in their buildings. They may offer Sunday school, and at one point they may have had a school, but currently they've got empty Sunday school classrooms that don't have childcare. And so our goal is to pair those churches with existing childcare providers that need additional space, but can't afford the land to build a new building. Because if those providers can help pay for the infrastructure renovations of the church's childcare space, they can actually rent the space from the church so the church can generate revenue to offset its costs, and the provider is ready to provide those services. So if you walk into your church on Sunday and you notice that they have Sunday school and they don't have childcare, then please call me or have that pastor call me. We'd be happy to meet with them. We've got a number of providers who are ready to go. They just need a space. They can't afford the land for some facility to be here. The other thing that we're working on is a childcare loan fund. And so this will be in partnership with Abundance Capital. Many of you may know Abundance Capital. They do work with like Mill Village and Village Launch. And the idea is that they can provide microloans to childcare providers who want to get into expanding access to childcare, but maybe don't have access to capital. And so they can borrow money from Abundance. They can use that money for childcare facility improvements or to maybe improve the conditions in their home to make it easier for them to have children in their home, or to just buy cribs and car seats and things that they would need to provide care in their home. And then they can repay that money at a low interest loan. And so if you have any interest in partnering with Abundance Capital, you can actually call them, and they are actually accepting donors who would contribute to that and actually have their donations repaid to them through these loan repayment programs. So it's a great way to put capital in front of childcare providers who maybe just need short-term resources and just don't have access to a traditional bank. So Abundance Capital is doing that work, and it's really exciting. The third group that we're working with are in-home providers. Tina is absolutely right that we have so many places where we have people staying at home, most of them staying at home with young children who would like to generate revenue. And so we're trying to reach those individuals, particularly individuals in apartments and individuals in maybe subsidized housing, to train them how to take care of children in their home. They can get certified by DSS, so they're legally operating, they're running a high quality program. We can provide them with the resources to help them do that. They can collect revenue so they can earn $40,000 to $50,000 a year, providing care in their home. And they don't really need a lot of infrastructure because the DSS regulations for in-home care are very different than the regulations for a facility. So they don't have to have a playground outside. They don't have to have a lot of equipment. They need some cribs and maybe, some play spaces and some equipment. And so how do we work with particularly our apartment complexes and in our individuals who provide subsidized housing to make sure that they are writing their leases so that people can operate a business that is childcare in their housing unit. So those are our three strategies that we're working on right now that we're most excited about. But certainly there are some needs in the community, and we're really excited about the opportunities to work with our partners on that work.
So I have a question while we're waiting for Derek. So are you impacted at all by any either reduction in federal funding for any of these programs that you've talked about, or fear of reduction in federal funding
Sure.
What is
So-
the impact there?
So we're certainly concerned about Share Head Start. So Share Head Start is our primary Head Start provider for the upstate. And their dollars come from the federal government. And if those dollars are frozen, then they would close the next month. They've told us they work basically month to month. So we're really concerned about that. And that is about a third of the childcare vouchers in Greenville County for subsidized childcare are Share Head Start vouchers. So that would be a tremendous blow to our community.
Yeah. Is there ways to donate to support those?
You know, I have to find out whether, I know that you can donate money to Share. I don't know that it would offset the resources that they're getting from the federal government.
Right.
Pretty substantial. I know that DSS also has community block grant dollars, which it turns into childcare vouchers also. So in addition to Share Head Start, the DSS childcare would be the other big bucket, and it also would go out if those don't.
And does some of that funding also come from the federal government that the state?
Most of
state gets?
that's federal.
So yeah, not a great situation. Okay, so for anybody who wants to answer, are there any plans for childcare for special needs children?
Maybe we should just stay up here together. I think that there is definitely a need for childcare services. We were called by a private childcare provider in Massachusetts that would like to relocate here to do that. So we are trying to work to bring more providers into the market. But there is definitely, if you think there's a shortage of traditional childcare, third shift childcare, and special needs childcare are just absolutely absent.
Maybe the one positive thing out of the private childcare movement or school vouchers is there was a section of that movement specifically around special needs, because there isn't a lot of programming for children with special needs. But those are all being lumped in together at this point, and so it's just become more of a private school voucher. So.
Here's a question for both Tina and Liz, which I was curious about. So what does childcare actually cost? Let's say you can get childcare.
Yeah.
What's the cost of that in Greenville?
Currently, for my 3.5-year-old, it's about $1,200 a month, and that's very affordable. Like in terms of the range, you go up to like $2,400, $2,600 a month easily in Greenville. But a market average for a study we just did was $1,400, and I think it's a little lacking, to be honest.
And that's one child.
One child.
Yeah.
Right. So we're talking about a second mortgage here, folks.
That's not even.
Yeah, you're right. That's just in a center. Absolutely. And Amanda McDougall Scott is a childcare expert as well. Shout her out.
Okay. How do you reach out to people who might want to do home care, Derek, to counsel them on training and licensing, and is there a program for that or
So
outreach?
one of our goals is to have partners who are already working in workforce development to understand this as a possible, at least short-term career option. And so working with Share and the Ladder program and some of the other programs that are doing workforce development to help them understand that it's an option available for them. And then, just, I think word of mouth, I think what we are finding traditionally is most in-home childcare providers are parents of infants who stay home, and their neighbor says, oh, well, you're staying home. Can I just pay you to watch my baby too? And so it's a very close group of people that don't advertise, they don't put ads in the paper. And so really it's word of mouth, just making sure that everybody knows, if you know somebody's staying home and watching a child, we can equip them to be able within a month or two to be licensed and to be accepting children and generating all those dollars that Tina's spending in childcare.
And to add to it, if they get licensed, they can also get their college education paid for, right? So there's scholarships to get that if you have to go through that process. And that's part of the benefit of getting licensed versus some you might see kind of under the table. But I will say, looking into it, it's been really eye-opening as a planner. When you look at the zoning for childcare, particularly in-home childcare, it's very unfriendly. In the county in particular, the city does a really good job. The county, there's folks who wanted to do their in-home childcare just based on their residential zoning classification. If someone reported them, to DSS, I mean, they're actually able not to get certified just based on their zoning alone. So there are just some changes on that level we could make.
But that brings up another question. Derek, you made the process of getting certified to have in-care childcare at your own home, made it sound pretty simple. So the question here is, does DSS have enough caseworkers to observe childcare and to make sure that it's well regulated?
So, no, they don't. I think DSS would prefer us not to add additional childcare because they have a hard time keeping up with the number of sites they're currently visiting. The good news I would say is, 10 years ago, in-home childcare was unregulated. And so 10 years ago in South Carolina, you had to fill out a form so that DSS knew you were operating childcare, and they did not have permission to come into your home to see what you were doing unless there was a complaint. But the only people that are going to make complaints are the people whose children are in the home. And so they're not going to lose a spot by complaining about how terrible Tina is at providing in-home childcare. So nobody makes a complaint. So nobody goes into the home. So DSS couldn't do any visits. We had a tragic situation happen in Greenville County where we lost a child due to unsafe sleep circumstances. And because of that, South Carolina changed its laws. And so now DSS is expected to visit every in-home childcare provider at least once a year. And they're required to check all of their paperwork, and they're required to get a number of trainings that they weren't required to get years ago. And so there is a positive change in that DSS is now much more involved, but they don't have enough people.
So there are regulations, but probably not followed to the letter. Is that what we're hearing?
There are regulations that when DSS is there, they're looking for. So they're doing fingerprinting of every person in the house. So if you provide childcare and your nephew is living with you and he has a record, he's got to get fingerprinted just like any employee of a childcare center. There's 18 hours of training they're required to get, including infant and toddler CPR, which was not required 10 years ago. So at least they are trained in some of those things. There's no question that they're not getting as much training as a traditional childcare facility director is getting. I mean, just the access to being able to take the associate's degree at Greenville Tech would be transformational for these in-home providers. And so a lot of our center directors, they're using those teach dollars and getting free childcare professional development at Greenville Tech that they can use for an associate's degree. They can translate into a bachelor's degree and they go work for the school district. These in-home providers have an extra step now to do that, but it's better than it was 10 years ago.
Okay. How about special ed needs? Is there?
Yeah, I mean, there are partners like the Myers Center that are full, have a waiting list, and are doing incredibly high quality work, but it's hard to get into. There is, I think Tina's right, there is an evolving trend that there are private providers who are now providing services for children with special needs that weren't doing that, 5 or 10 years ago. But it's not nearly enough. We've got a long way to go.
So last question, is First Steps being impacted in any way by the federal?
So First Steps is almost entirely state funded. The General Assembly funds First Steps at the state level, and then there's the First Steps in every county that gets money from the General Assembly. So as of today, there is no impact to those state funds. We do a lot of matching though, and so a lot of our money we fund as a match. And so if Share Head Start were to go away, we would be impacted by that partner we're trusting to provide care at a fraction of what we would need if we had to pay Buncombe Street.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a lot of our home visiting, our newborn home visiting programs are Medicaid funded, which there's next week, who knows whether they'll
Right,
still be doing it.
right.
So, as of today, we're funding that with Medicaid, but if Medicaid changes how it reimburses, that would, I think, get rid of most of our home visiting programs across the state.
There's also, I mean, it's not necessarily childcare under 4, but it's, the IEP programs obviously have been a big discussion point too, that's been impacted federally. So that is children leaving childcare, but going into the school system, not having access when it comes to, personalized education programs.
Right.
And we're seeing the rise of all kinds of needs for IEPs while federal is talking about, removing that.
Right. Well, thank you very much, all you guys. For your time and for the amazing work that you're doing, Derek, and for Liz and Tina being such examples of great moms. Okay, so as most of you will know, the State Democratic Convention is May 31st. Many in this room are delegates. We just learned today that Tim Walz, former vice presidential nominee, will be the keynote speaker. So if that makes anybody else want to be a delegate, please reach out and contact the GCDP office. I'm sure that there are delegate spots still available. I think we have something like 160 delegate positions. So there is only one contested leadership position this year, and that is third vice chair. We heard from Michael Laird, the other candidate, a couple of months ago, and today we have Ralph Prelu. If I mispronounced that, Ralph, I apologize. He's from Berkeley County. He's an assistant dean at the Charleston School of Law, and he has driven all the way from Charleston this morning to speak to us for 3 minutes. So please give them your attention and a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. Well, the way y'all clapped just now, I think I already won the race for third vice chair. First and foremost, we say thank you to Ms. Haig for the wonderful invitation given to me. I thank each and every one of you for the hospitality that was shown to me once I got here. I also realized that I had family in the room. I think they just left. They were sitting over on the table over there. So, but it's always good to be here, and it's so good to be with you in Greenville County. Again, my name is Ralph Prelu, and I am the runner for the third vice chair for the South Carolina Democratic Party. I am also the assistant dean of academic administration at Charleston School of Law, and I've been the chair of the Berkeley County Democratic Party since March of 2022. I am running for the third vice chair seat for one reason and one reason only. We are here to energize and galvanize our young voters to come and start working in our state party. And in leadership, and you have to realize that in order to galvanize and energize people, you have to have proven leadership. And that's what I have. How have I done that? In Berkeley County, when I started with the Democratic Party, I was the youngest in the room. And I am only 7 years later, I'm 34 years old. I started in the Democratic Party at 27. And I started as precinct captain, and now I am the county chair. So what have I done? I've taken young people and brought them into my county party and made them not only workers, but put them in leadership positions so that way the county party success can continue. So my second vice chair, he's 31 years old. He has campaign experience with whether it's congressional, statewide, or whatever have you. My third vice chair is 35 years old, engineering at Boeing. And then for the first time ever in our county party, we have a county finance director, and he is the director of South Planned Parenthood, South Atlantic, and he's the fundraising director there. So we are doing things in Berkeley to make sure we have success later on. And if I become the next third vice chair, or when I become the next third vice chair of the Democratic Party, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that, number one, we have 46 working third vice chairs. The third vice chair role has always been seen as a placeholder role with no strategy. If you ever look at the state party rules, there is no description, there is no duties, there is no responsibilities. There's only one rule. You have to be under the age of 36. We have to change that. So what am I going to do? I want to meet either monthly or quarterly with our third vice chairs, including your third vice chair, who I've spoken with already, Charles Morris, and make sure there is a strategy in place, a strategy that coincides with your county party. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Second thing, we need to learn to tap into the resources that is available to us. While I was driving up in the rain, so please don't hold that against me. I was looking at some of the student organizations that your technical schools and your Greenville University has. One, I saw that there was the Young Americans for Freedom, which is a conservative group at North Greenville University. Why isn't there a Democratic a Young Dem organization, a NAACP, a Planned Parenthood student organization on that campus? We can get that done. We can do that. When it comes to Greenville Tech, I noticed that Dr. Jordan here is the advisor for Greenville Tech Democracy. We need to make sure that we get those students working and acclimating not only in those institutions, but in those county parties. So we need to make sure we are tapping into our resources to grow our party and make them stronger, and that will lead to better election cycles. And then lastly, our young people, there is a learning curve. There is a learning curve because my motto, if y'all read my flyer there, it said building bridges to foster a better future. There is a disconnect between our elders and our young people, and we need to bridge that gap. They need to understand that you can't have it all over here, and we can't have it all over there. There has to be common ground. And that's what I've done in Berkeley County, because I didn't get my way all the time when I became the county chair. I had to work with our elders, and I had to work with our young people and bring them all together. And now I will say that we probably at least a semi-happy family sometimes in Berkeley County. But if you don't remember anything, I'm going to adhere to the time, 3 minutes. If you don't remember anything that I said, I am asking you to remember this fella from Berkeley County, born and raised in Pineville, South Carolina, where I believe there was only one grocery store and one traffic light. Come to Columbia on May 31st. When you come to Columbia, you pay your $5 parking fee that they're making us do this year for the state convention. I want you to come inside and remember Ralph Pralo. If you remember me, like I said across the trail, I guarantee you won't regret voting for me. Thank y'all.
I'm excited that Ralph has already had a conversation with Charles Morris, who I think is going to be a great addition to the GCDP team, really. Okay, so now it's time to turn to a little bit of Dem Women business. So I want to talk about food. See, right, the groaning and this is always a problem. In the 2.5 years I've been president, there has been very little consensus on the food. Hot or cold, vegetarian or beef, heavy or light, doesn't matter. There's always someone who tells me it was horrible and someone who says it was delicious. One thing I think we can all agree on is that the cost has gotten to be higher. It's more expensive, as has the environment that we meet in. One thing you've probably also noticed is that less than half of our attendees eat lunch, right? The majority of people are either bringing their own lunch or not eating. Last month, I'm going to use the word lost, but we didn't lose $500 on lunch, but lunch cost $500 more than we brought in. Okay. In March, the month before, we lost $736. Now, there is a legitimate disagreement, even among board members, as to whether or not lunch should support itself or whether it should just be part of our overall budget. And as long as the overall budget is on track, we shouldn't worry about breaking even at the lunch meetings. There is a disagreement on that issue. Transparently, we are in a good financial position. Last year, we voted to maintain a $10,000 reserve in the bank. Why do we do that? Because membership is not a consistent thing. I cannot count on if I could count on each and every one of you to renew your membership next year at the same level you renewed it this year, that would not be an issue. but we don't do that. We don't automatically sign you up again for next year. You got to decide that it's still valuable to you, it's still worth it to you. And so consequently, our membership can change, the amount of money we're bringing in dues can change. And whether or not membership drops or explodes, we still need to be able to fulfill the basics of our job, which is to provide a monthly meeting and to support our Democratic candidates. The room we're sitting in costs $1,000 each month, does not include the food. Right, that's for the room rental. And actually, it's 2 rooms. For the rental, the linens, the audio-visual, and the tea and water. And before you ask, the board has done a massive investigation of other locations last year when we thought we might lose this space. And no one that we looked at, and we looked at a lot of places, I guarantee you, could give us the equivalent environment for over 100 people at anywhere near the same cost. Lunch is a tool, not an outcome. So our budget goal is not to lose money on lunch every month just because we have some money in the bank. We have a critical election in 2025 to preserve the Democratic majority on City Council. We cannot underestimate what the differences in Greenville may be if we transition from a Democratically majority council to a GOP majority council. That's only 2 candidates. And if we considered supporting our idea of support to be only a financial contribution, we'd only need $2,000 and we're all set to go. But last election, we did a lot more. We sponsored events. We ran a digital marketing campaign. We purchased and wrote 1,500 postcards for swing states. We attended community events to support mutual goals. We gave funding to a lot of other organizations. And in addition to that, we supported 14 candidates to the legal limit we're allowed to. In 2026, we will have county council seats, every state house seat, governor, both District 3 and District 4 U.S. representatives, and one very exciting Senate seat, Lindsey Graham. It is crucial that we flip some seats, that we help South Carolina eject Lindsey Graham. And that we take back at least one of the upstate's 2 congressional seats. Between now and November 26th, I intend to spend every disposable dollar that we have or can raise on strategies from billboards to digital ads, mailers to paid social media, podcasts to news placements, because that is what has to be done. I'm not going to spend it on lunch. Because lunch is a tool, not an outcome. So some things are going to have to change, and this is where you come in. That's why I'm spending your time, your valuable time today on this topic. You've certainly noticed that for the 2nd month in a row, today we had a box lunch. This is an option we're looking at, always having a box lunch and maintaining the price at $25. We're also considering reinstating or reinventing a fee for non-eaters. The size of our meetings is adding to the cost, from the need to 2 rooms instead of 1, to the cost of tea and water, which is about $300 to $350 time, $3 for everyone in the room. $2, I'm sorry, I lied. And linens on the tables. So another potential proposal is to raise the price of lunch to $30 or $35. Terry Morton, our treasurer, is working on an analysis of the 1st quarter. When that is complete, the board will consider potential options. Then all members in good standing, so those of you who have paid your membership for 2025, will be presented with the options that we have identified, and you will vote and decide which thing we will implement. Okay, so I want you to be informed about where we're at and why we need to make some changes. If you have any questions or comments, you want to talk to me about this, you can reach out to me at, get your pencils, 864-322-3179, or email me at demwomen@greenvilledemocrats.com. Okay, that's the lunch stuff. Everybody got it? Everybody clear? If anybody hasn't had their $3 water yet, please feel free. Okay. So, 2. Sorry, it's 3, but they give us it's $3 on their end, but they give us a $1 break. Okay, so today's announcements, a couple of announcements. For today's meeting, we collected donations online for the Palmetto State Abortion Fund. Thank you to all those who donated. We collected $367, 50% will go to the Palmetto Abortion Fund and 50% benefits Dem Women. So thank you very much for your generous contributions. As I mentioned last month, we were asked twice already this year to help with transportation. And I'm afraid that's going to be something that's going to happen more and more frequently. So if you are interested, able to be a driver or assist in some other way to help a woman's journey, please let me know. So I'll have your name and phone number ready when we get the call. For this month's 50-50 donation, the board has selected Greenville County Animal Care. You've got a thing on your tables. There's a QR code where you can make a donation today, or you can add it to your sign up for next month's lunch. Greenville Animal Care is funded in part by the county, but also needs a lot of donations because they have become a no-kill shelter, which is unheard of really for, county-run, public shelters. And they're doing great work, and there are a lot of needs out there for that. So next month's program, I think you're going to find this pretty exciting. Next month we go to evening meetings. We'll be meeting at 6 o'clock at night. So if your friends who are working, hopefully they'll be able to make it. Because next month our speaker will be U.S. Congressman Jamie Raskin. Don't get too excited because he's coming to us virtually from DC, but he's still coming to us. So this is really exciting. He's going to talk about the constitutional crisis we are in and give us some ideas for what we in a red state can do to influence the situation in the country. Very exciting about that. So I hope we'll have a big crowd and lots of new people who don't get to normally be with us. Right here at 6 o'clock. In July, we're organizing a program of upstate residents who've been impacted by Trump's policies. The faces of MAGA are so important for us to put a human face on these issues. We're looking for federal employees who may have lost or fear they might lose their jobs, for veterans who are having to wait extra long time to get service at the VA. For someone who's working with immigrants at risk, I would not ask any immigrant to come forward and say, hi, I'm an immigrant and I'm worried. But for somebody who is working in that environment, and anybody else who might be, we're looking to get a representative group together. If you know of anybody, please reach out to Roxanne or me and give us their name and some way to reach them. That would be great help to us. And in August, GCDP Chair Stacey Mars and City Councilwoman Dorothy Dow will talk about the City Council election in November, set the table for us with what's at stake, what it's going to take to win, and get us mobilized for the big job ahead, which I am very confident. We have great candidates, and I am very confident that we're going to win that. Right, Tina?
That's right.
That's right. So that's a good place to do our daily or monthly public embarrassment opportunity. So I'm gonna start with moms and their daughters. Yesterday was Mother's Day. So if anybody is here with your daughter or here with your mom, please stand up so we can wish you a happy Mother's Day. Oh, wow. Okay. Where's this? Where's that? Oh, man. I Pope. Is he standing? I think he's standing. Also, I always think about Mother's Day as like a day for mentors too, because, you know, sometimes your mom, if you're lucky, your mom is your mentor. If you're, you know, but it may not be, it may be somebody else that's in your life. So that's an incredibly important relationship. If there are any mentors, mentees here. There's one. Anybody else? Well, you get all the applause. We're always excited to have new people, and we have a lot of new people today, I noticed. So I hope that those of you who are first timers, that you got some, got energized, got something out of the meeting, you met some new people. And if you wouldn't mind, if this is your very first time, standing up and just letting us get a look at you. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for coming. This is great. We also had 16 new members sign up in April, and I don't know if any of them are, no, they're not. Okay, nobody's here today. Okay, there wasn't any room for all the new people who were coming. So to the 2024 members who have not renewed your membership, I just want to remind you that your 2025 dues are due. Very gently remind you that we're only due in February, so you're only 3 months late. And of course, we want to recognize our elected officials, past and present. So if you are a currently serving elected official or a previous elected official, please stand up. And finally, I have a couple of super quick things. The weekend of June 6th is Wear Orange Weekend, when we remember those who are lost to gun violence. Coincidentally, June 17th is also the 10th anniversary of the massacre of 9 parishioners at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston. Then Women is working with Moms Demand Action to organize a town hall focused on closing the Charleston loophole that had enabled Dylan Roof to commit such a heinous act. So far, 22 states have passed legislation that closes that loophole. And South Carolina should have been the first to do it. Not the 23rd or the 25th or the 20 never. So we are planning to invite all of the Greenville legislative delegation to this town hall to address this issue. I don't know when it will be. We're trying to find out when some of the commemorative events will be going on in Charleston, so we don't plan it on a day when there's a big thing that the legislators will want to go to that. So just wanted to let you know about that. But we very much do want to make sure we invite the whole delegation and see who shows up, talk about it. Somebody's waving something. Catherine. Sure. Catherine's got an event on the, this is Justin Pearson. He's the Tennessee Assemblyman who, with the 2 other, if I get this wrong, please stop me, with 2 other Assemblymen who were kicked out of the assembly. And then, so he's going to be speaking before Young Democrats of Spartanburg County on Thursday, May 29th. And scan the QR code to sign up. And all are welcome. Okay, so I think that is everything. Thank you so much for,
Sorry.
something else.
Yeah, also on our website, tinabelge.com, we have days up for May. We're already knocking doors. We'd love to have your help. So, there's listed days on their social as well.
Can you send those to me so I can put them on the GCDP calendar for you? Okay, great. Okay, everybody go home, Ruth. No, I don't think we do. Keep looking at the GCDP calendar. We now have a link on page 1 of the GCDP website that takes you directly to any events that are about protests or resistance efforts. So that will be in there. So everyone drive safely going home, and please bus your tables.